What's up, boys and girls? Welcome back to a new Alphastar video. As today we have an Alphastar replay from one of the older replays. There was 3 folders that the Alphastar people released, and one was mid, one was supervised, and one was final. And this is from the mid folder, so not quite supervised, but still one of the older ones. And it's against a master player. It's a PvP. So we got our master player in the bottom right, playing in blue. And in top left we have Alphastar himself, who, contrary to the Alphastar in the final folder, actually does not wall off and will be playing some kind of a... I guess this looks a lot like a 1-gate expand to me. Usually with 2-gate you wall, with 1-gate sometimes you don't wall because you build a secondary wall on the low ground. So that's something I could imagine seeing. And the complete lack of a second gas, this pro being rallied down, all kind of indicates towards that 1-gate expand. On the other hand, we have our protoss player, of course. A beautiful human being, just like you and me, hopefully. Opening up with 2-gate at the ramp. Should be adding that cyber core, yeah. There we go. He's mining a lot of gas and has a very late scout. Usually you scout after the second gateway or after the second gas, and our master player here is not even scouting after the second pylon, which is insanely late. This means that he won't be able to properly react to this insanely fast nexus, which is actually very big, as usually if you see a nexus this fast, you either want to proxy a robo, you want to proxy a gateway, or you want to proxy a stargate. But that's basically gonna be impossible here for... Especially, like, he can't proxy any tech in this case anymore. Like, it's gonna be impossible for him to have a quick tech. Like, he isn't even aware that he needs to proxy something. He still needs to throw down a pylon and then the tech. The quickest that will go up. Oh my god. He's just gonna blindly proxy. This guy is insanely lucky. So, this still could be like a robotics facility. But more likely as a gateway, I would say. I don't understand this battery at all. I guess so his opponent can't come back and scout this. Now he is slightly supply blocked, means his third stalker is a little later. Meanwhile, on the side of Alphastar opens up with a single adept, no, 2 adepts into Stargate, quick battery. And I assume Alphastar will want to try to figure out if his opponent is expanding or not. So should probably move along the map. Finds 2 stalkers. Will be moving back up the ramp. Doesn't want to lose any of those adepts. Now his opponent is getting a Twilight Council. But this looks really bad for Alphastar, honestly, as it's a proxy 3-gate into Blink, and Alphastar's opening Phoenix for whatever reason. So actually should lose one of the adepts for free here. Might lose the second one as well. Definitely will lose the second one. And won't kill anything at all. So this is gonna be... I think it's gonna be basically game over at this point. The warp gate is done. The 3rd gate is here. And there's 4 stalkers against 2 units. One of them can't even attack unless there's a second one of it. So the next warp in, I mean, there will be 6 stalkers. He might lose 1 stalker to these phoenixes, but he can just, I mean, kill probes forever basically. He's lost 1 stalker now to the probes, gonna perhaps lose a second. I would love to see this phoenix targeted down. Yeah, and this is absolutely awful for Alphastar, who's just losing resource after resource. I'm not quite sure what this protoss is doing. Like, his micro is really quite off. I'm not a massive fan of the target fire. The extra warp in seem to be coming in late as well for whatever reason. Like, if you see this fast of an expo, and you already have this many units, you don't get a nexus, you just kill your opponent. Like, you just keep warping in stalkers, and then you get blink. But the nexus actually delayed the secondary and the 3rd warp in a bit. And I'm not saying Alphastar has a chance here, but basically every time Alphastar lifts a unit, that unit will die now, and more batteries are being added. 1 Phoenix does fall, which is nice, but the Stalker still will end up falling as well. Some poor macro actually by our Protoss player here, who's too busy microing and completely forgetting to warp in. Don't forget, this is still 8 Stalkers against 1 Stalker and 4 Phoenixes, and whenever the Phoenixes lift something, I think you can just target down the Phoenix, honestly. Instead, once again going for that Stalker, won't be able to get it. It's just it's just the split target fire every time, like 1 shot on the Stalker, 2 shots on the Stalker, then some on the Phoenix, 1 or 2 on the probes. Like, our protoss player really isn't quite sure what to attack, and Alphastar is just slowly but surely actually pulling ahead. He's actually in a good spot now. He did lose a lot of workers, 19 workers went down, but units lost is equal. Alphastar mined a little bit more, and he still has a lot of economy in these Phoenixes. Now, I know that Phoenixes are incapable of mining, but basically these Phoenixes, they guarantee a certain amount of probe kills. So even though the worker count is equal here, it's not actually equal. Like in the next minute and a half, like there's no units to defend against the Phoenixes. Like probes will go down, and Alphastar, if he continues building workers properly, will actually pull ahead. I'm not a big fan of killing Stalkers here. I think that's a mistake. Like he really should be just... I think if he gets 4 probes and keeps all of his Phoenixes alive, or... well, at this point he really needs to keep all of them alive. I was going to say 4 probes and lose 1 Phoenix total. That's completely fine. Now he continues with Phoenix production, and our master player is actually moving out with a couple of Stalkers. These Phoenixes will be able to kill a bunch of probes. And this is what I talk about when I say these Phoenixes have economy in themselves as well. Like they're not only fighting units, but they definitely are also very useful when it comes to killing probes, of course. And they always get them. Now, Alphastar will need to pull probes himself once again, as he doesn't really have any units. A single Stalker, 6 Phoenixes against 10 Stalkers. And once again, it feels like if the master player micros this well, he should be able to just kind of win this. But instead decides to blink back and go home. There was a single Stalker and 5 Phoenixes. Don't forget, if you have more than 7 Stalkers and there's no battery healing, you can 2-shot Phoenixes. I believe you need 14 shots to 14 Stalker shots to kill a Phoenix. Yeah, that's correct. So usually what you do is you split up two groups of Stalkers, 5-5 per base, and then you can 3-shot a Phoenix. That's kind of the way to go. But in this case, there's only 4 Stalkers here, so we won't be able to kill Phoenix too quickly there. Now Alphastar is going into the main base, we'll be able to kill a couple of extra workers as he's going into Immortal, so finally getting some safety. Now come on, just lift some. I'm not quite sure what Alphastar is doing with these Phoenixes. The control seems a little bit lackluster, honestly. He does spot the 3rd base, and we have 2 adepts in the main base of Alphastar, who of course doesn't have a wall, so has a very rough time dealing with this. That's how many Phoenixes? Just continues building Phoenixes as well. Got 7 Phoenixes out already. There is Warp Gate, so it's not exactly Protoss MECH, but this is very, very odd. This whole playstyle, adding a 2nd Robo as well. Probably to get either Colossus or just more Immortals. Gets to lift a couple of Stalkers that were warping in on the slow pylon. Of course, if a pylon isn't connected with a Nexus or a Gateway, you do get that slow warp in instead of the quick warp in. Now we have a couple of Stalkers still trying to defend these Phoenixes. And honestly, the Phoenix movement is so bad that it feels like it doesn't really matter how he tries to defend. He's just going to be able to do it. It's some really poor Phoenix movement, and he keeps trying the same angles again and again as well. And then not lifting very quickly either, so here we go. A couple of units do get lifted. Oh, Protoss actually decides to attack his own probe. Now this is good. This is actually very good, as he finally gets some worker kills, and he really needs to get some worker kills as well, as this 3rd base is already up and running. And what does Alphastar really have going for him? Not much, except this Phoenix count. So right now he's just down 8 workers. He's down a base. There's no extra forge. Like, he's down in upgrades. Our Protoss player actually does have a forge on the way. He has a lot of gateways, good infrastructure. He still has a worse unit composition at this point. But once he starts adding in charge lots and some Archons, he should be completely fine at whatever Alphastar can throw at him. Still 9 Phoenixes on the map. And this is difficult to do for our master player here. Don't forget that. Like, his vision is very limited, so he's gonna be too late fighting these Phoenixes every single time, basically. As these Phoenixes get a couple more worker kills. And we see Once again, Alphastar trying to fly into that third base. Good recall coming out of the protoss player. Pulls away the workers as well. It's only a couple of stalkers. Alphastar realized that. Kills one of the stalkers and just moves on to bigger things basically. Double Immortal being pumped out. As well as a charge, or well, a Twilight Council and a Forge. I still kind of like the Masters player position here. Once again, really a lot faster on the extra base, way better income at this point, 400 or 500 minerals a minute, better upgrades, and all we really need is charge. Like, why? Oh, charge is already done. So if charge is done and Templar Archives is on the way, going up to 6 gases now, I don't really see a way for Alphastar to actually win this game. Like, there's no real clear win condition here for Alphastar, and there's some clear win conditions here for the Master player. Like, there's some... I see a lot of ways in which he could win, and Alphastar, I only see him win if he attacks really quickly and our Master player move commands into his army. But the longer the game goes on, the worse it will get for Alphastar. He needs to get a better army. Sure, it's nice to have a lot of Immortals, but these don't actually do very well against Zealots and Archons, especially in combination with each other. Like, Immortals really suck against Zealots. Now, Phoenixes are okay against Zealots, but Phoenixes don't do well in a straight-up fight majority of the time. These Phoenixes, however, have been putting in a lot of work, of course. You see units lost total is very, very close. And a bunch of Templar actually feed back all of these Phoenixes. Oh. And 4 Archons get warped in right now. Still no third base for Alphastar, who's very wary of taking a third for whatever reason. And more Phoenix just keep being added. 10 Phoenixes. I wonder how many Phoenixes have gone down already. 11 Phoenixes have gone down. So 21 Phoenixes have been produced already this game. As a couple of more do go down against this little Stalker squad. And he's so active with the Phoenixes. He's getting quite a lot done. But at the same time, he's also continuously losing more and more Phoenixes for basically minor damage. I think our Master player is getting very confused right now. It's like, hey, like, what really is the plan you have here, buddy? Like, what are you doing? As Alphastar's army looks kind of garbage, honestly. What's this? 9 Immortals, 10 Phoenix against 21 Zealots, 10 Stalkers, and 4 Archons. Here comes our Master player. It's like, you know what, buddy? I think I can fight you. And as long as he doesn't fight up this ramp, I think he's going to be completely fine. Oh, no. Master player decides to go back. The thing is, as long as there's no third base for Alphastar, why would you attack? There's absolutely no use for this guy to attack as long as there's no third base. And he's not quite aware that there's no third base, but I guess he has a good feeling or something. Also gets the cannons at a very convenient time, I have to admit, as the Dark Shrine is about to finish up. We do have a robotics facility, double robotics facility on the way, or second robotics facility on the way, together with the Robo Bay. And here comes Alphastar. Let's see what he has in store for us. So +1 is done for Alphastar. He has charge, I believe. He has exactly 0 Zealots, but a lot of Immortals, and there's a lot of Phoenixes here. Now with a very good engagement, Alphastar still won't be able to win this, as his army composition is simply worse. Perhaps with an absolutely awful engagement from the Master player, it would be possible. We see some decent pickup micro here, as the rest of the army is pretty late to the party, but I mean, just pure Immortal doesn't really kill Zealots, and this fight is just going absolutely awful for Alphastar here, who is kiting backwards nicely, I have to give him that, and there's some good Prism pickup micro here. Zealots aren't really connecting. Blink forward tries to pick up some of the Immortals. As +2 is getting closer to being done. A lot of money is being floated by our Protoss player as well, or our human Protoss player. But the Zealots do start connecting to the Immortals finally. Some bad blinks once again. Never really want to blink into 12 Immortals. I've never thought of that as a very brilliant move. And right now our Master player is like, you're going up that ramp, let me kill your third. Wait, what? There is no third. As he takes a forward base, he's like, wait, what? Wait a second. I don't think I actually need to attack. I don't think he actually needs to do anything. And I wouldn't be surprised if he just takes a more defensive position. Yeah, on top of the ramp. Will collapse on top of this army right now. Zealot's kind of stuck behind the Archon, so not the hottest fight. Definitely would not make the top 10 fight of this year so far. So we have a lot of Immortals, and funnily enough, the army supply of Alphastar is actually getting pretty high right now. And I'm not afraid of the Masters player. Like, I'm not afraid for him, actually. Because he has a lot of money in the bank and his army still is fine. Like, in an open area, Alphastar will never be able to do anything. But these Phoenixes might be able to do something as well. I mean, every single probe here gets picked up, and all of a sudden the economical advantage that our human player had is kind of disappearing. He got lucky here that Alphastar didn't decide to go to the natural and pick up everything there as well. Now, this third base does get cancelled. No, actually might get saved by this massive immortal squad, as there's 12 immortals. This army is actually pretty scary. Like, it's not a good, well-balanced army, but just 12 immortals, I mean, they're gonna do some damage, you know. The DPS of this army is insane, and it's kind of tanky. It just sucks against zealots. Like, that's really its one weakness, is zealots, and there's only 5 zealots on the map, so perhaps it's possible for Alphastar here to do something, who just flies in once again with his, how many? 12 phoenixes. 11 phoenixes now. Gets a lot of kills. 51 workers killed so far. 31 workers killed for the Masters player, though. He managed to also grab a good chunk. 17 phoenixes have gone down, and as there's still 11, that means we're now producing our 29th phoenix of this game. So once again, the Master player is way too keen to move on the map. All he needs to do is get +3, get a bunch of zealots, max out, and then you can attack any given point. But every time he moves out, he just loses 10, 15 workers. 64 workers have gone down already. Alphastar starts to retreat with his immortal force, goes up a ramp once again. 13 immortals with +1. Still no +2 has started for Alphastar, and here comes our Master player, who is attacking up a ramp into the concave of doom, basically, without zealots, which, don't forget, I said is really the biggest counter to pure immortal. This might actually work for Alphastar, who is taking a pretty decent fight here. A lot of the immortals are falling, but so are all the ground units of our Master player. There's still I'm not sure why these zealots were not in the main fight. I just don't understand it. Instead, they decide to do a run-by into 2 bases that are basically mined out already. Alphastar does end up defending, but loses almost all of its workers. There's only 27 workers remaining right now. Well, we have 61 for our human player. Another zealot run-by, actually moving on top of those immortals. Will not be able to get another one. And with these phoenixes still alive, like, the army supply for Alphastar is so immensely big right now. I just don't really see a way for our human player to get a good force out if Alphastar would attack immediately with everything. I guess Archons would be good because they can't get picked up by the Phoenixes, but Phoenix is such a snowbally unit. Like, if you have 12 Phoenixes alive and there's no ground, or there's nothing to counter it, you can just pick up whatever gets warped in, and I think that's exactly what's going to happen to these Zealots, or I'd love to see that at least. Archons will be able to kind of deter that kind of movement. So we have a couple of extra zealots being warped in, +3 finally starting as well as a 5th base. Why is he building a 5th base? He's up 30 workers already. Like, this is the last thing he needs. He just needs to spend his money. Now, he is exactly going to be doing that, as a couple of zealots are getting picked up. Good prison micro here out of Alphastar, who is showing some nice micro actually. Like, again, his army composition sucks, but his micro is pretty safe. So once again, zealots are charging in 3 Archons. Once these Archons fall, the Phoenixes basically have free reign, so it's extremely important that these stay alive. Now, is there still an observer remaining? Yes, there's one observer coming towards the main battle. The thing is, observers get sniped so quickly if there's an observer for your opponent and a bunch of Phoenixes, so these DTs are putting in so much work. One of the 3 Archons has gone down. Oh, do they see each other's observer? Yes, they do. Alphastar moves back with its observer and goes back into harassing mode. It's really quite cute the way he does this. But, I mean, he was on a timer, and he still is on a timer, as the 5th base finally finishes for our Master player as well, who's now going into, still is +3, double immortal. This guy really doesn't understand what he's doing. Like, the last thing he needs is immortals right now. He just needs stuff that can either attack air or can't be lifted. So either Stalkers or Archons is really what you need, and then the rest of your minerals, just dump them into Zealots, and you're going to be completely fine. Perhaps get a couple of extra observers, just in case you lose some. Maybe a cannon or 2. Like, I just don't understand the immortals whatsoever. I think it's an awful call. Now we have 5 Immortals still on the map, and it looks like the army of the Masters player is getting a little bit too big at this point as he moves in. There's still a bunch of Immortals remaining. Phoenixes joined back at home as well. Some good micro being showcased by Alphastar, who's picking up 6-7 Phoenixes or Zealots at the same time, while kiting back and picking up. Like, this micro is absolutely insane. You can say a lot of things about Alphastar, but the micro is very, very good sometimes. As there's just too much stuff for now, as the third base does get focused down by Zealots and Archons. And the Phoenix count is getting, well, actually still remaining pretty stable at 11, I just realized. Army supply once again in favor of Alphastar, who realized this, like, you know what, I'm gonna try once again to go across the map, do some damage. But this army in open space, not being able to retreat to batteries, makes it a lot worse, of course. Some pretty decent pickups here by the Phoenix, who, by the way, have no upgrade. How many Phoenix were produced? 21 have been lost. There's still 10 on the map. 31 Phoenixes have been produced. As how many Immortals have been produced? 16 Immortals have gone down so far, and there's still 7. It's 23 Immortals, I believe. That's a very high Immortal count. Don't think I've seen that before in a game. But yeah, at this point, +3 versus +1. And I mean, the Immortals will be able to do some damage unless they get lifted, of course. So, I mean, the army of the Master player is just way better. Like, these Phoenixes, they do not contribute to the fight, except for sniping observers. So maybe with mass DT and observer snipes, he will be able to do it. But there's not a single DT in this army, and there's still one observer in the back. These Archons will be able to kind of zone out the Phoenixes. So Alphastar's very careful with the micro. Good Zealot run by here by Master player, who also scouts the complete lack of a third. Now realizes he's up 3 bases. Should be pretty happy with that, as he's also getting further upgrades. I mean, at this point for Alphastar it's pretty over. Like, Alphastar is completely bugging out against the 3 Zealots run by. Moves back, moves forward, moves back, moves forward. There's no Prism anymore to save these Immortals at this point, and the Zealots are connecting. The Phoenixes are being left alone. What has been the APM? Well, a Master player with 300 APM and Alphastar with about 250. As the final Immortals do start falling, the first shield upgrade probably won't even finish up before this game ends. One Immortal does get lifted by the Phoenixes, but a quick blink and an Archon will manage to stop that Immortal from dying. And there's absolutely nothing stopping our Master player here, except, I guess, Alphastar's unwillingness to leave this game. Not quite sure exactly what he's doing. Picking off a single Zealot. Let's see if we can see his vision. Yeah, just... kind of focusing on... well, actually nothing. His Phoenixes, sometimes looking at the army. Trying to grab a Zealot. I guess at this point Alphastar wasn't smart enough to say GG yet. So it isn't one of the final Alphastar replays. He's just gonna stay in, I guess. No, does leave before all of his buildings disappear. So GG, well done by the Masters player, who, even though made a lot of mistakes, still managed to beat the Alphastar in a 23-minute game, which, you know, impressive. So, well done. If you did enjoy that, feel free to leave a like down below, or, you know, comment if you didn't like it, or if you did like it, don't forget to subscribe, as it helps me a lot. Thanks everyone for watching, and see you boys next time. Bye bye.